everything that needs to be in place for all of this to take place is quickly being put in place and is taking place. It's Luke 21:28 when Jesus said, when you see these things begin to take place, and you begin to see everything be put in place and begin to take place, look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. Why would he say that? Because when you see things that are going to be fulfilled in the 7-year tribulation, and the rapture has to happen, and it does. For those of you who weren't here on Thursday night or didn't watch the Psalms teaching, I really encourage you to do so, okay? Because there's a prophetic picture in that study about the pre-tribulation rapture of the church of Jesus Christ in the Psalms. It's actually all through Scripture. Starting in Genesis, by the way, with Enoch, who's a picture of the church, and pre-flood. He was a pre-flood believer. Because before the flood, he was raptured. Pre-flood. Noah's a picture of Israel, by the way. They go into the tribulation and are saved in the midst of the tribulation. That's Israel. Noah's not the church. I didn't mean to go here, but too late. I went there, so just bear with me for a second. One of the most compelling arguments to me, and there are many, there are a multitude, for the pre-tribulation rapture, is the uniformity in the typology in Scripture. How about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Okay, they go into the 7 times hotter fiery furnace and are saved in the midst of it. Okay, that's Israel. Where's Daniel? Oh, he's not there. Pre-furnace, he was exalted up, taken up to a high position and exalted. That's the church. Taken up pre-furnace. Joseph takes a Gentile bride pre-famine, 7 years. 7 years. The most compelling argument for me concerning the pre-tribulation rapture and why it is that I'm so dogmatic and will say that it absolutely has to happen before the 7-year tribulation is because that is what the Jewish bridal tradition was. You know when Jesus said to the disciples, "Behold, I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there ye may be also. In my Father's house are many rooms, dwelling places." You know what he was describing? True to Jewish tradition, he was describing what the bridegroom would do once engaged to the bride. He would go to his father's house and he would build a bridal chamber for his bride. And the bride had to always be ready because the bride didn't know the day or the hour of the wedding. Created a huge problem for wedding invitations. Just saying. So when the father would say, okay, now the bridegroom would come as a thief in the night and snatch away his bride and take her to the bridal chamber for guess how long? 7. 7. A period of not 3.5, not pre-wrath, no, 7. For 7 days, the bride is ensconced within that bridal chamber, consummating and celebrating her marriage to the bridegroom. And at the end of the 7, I'm not angry, I know I'm yelling, she would emerge. You know for what? A huge feast. Brings me great comfort because that means there's going to be food in heaven. No, seriously, there's going to be food in heaven. No calories, no fat, no cholesterol, none of that. Just it's the wedding feast of the Lamb. And it's celebrated after the period of 7. It has to. That's, if you do anything to disrupt the typology, and I think we talked about this on Thursday night, just bear with me. You can ask Moses about ruining the typology. You remember when he was commanded to speak to the rock? The first time he was commanded to strike the rock and water would come out. The second time, do not strike the rock, only speak to the rock. The rock is Christ. And the type is that the Christ would only be struck, crucified one time. And Moses, out of anger, struck the rock the second time. Didn't need to strike the rock. The rock has already been strucken. That's not a word. Stricken. Struck. We'll just go with struck. Should probably end the sermon when it's over, but anyway. And now we only speak to the Christ because he's already been crucified. You know what it cost Moses? Ruining the typology? Cost him the promised land. Think about that. Think about that. That's how serious it is. The typology. You try to put the rapture anywhere but at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, you start messing with the typology, and I wouldn't do that if I were you. There. Let's leave it at that. Some of you are saying thank you.